sometimes it's worth to just stop for a moment and try to actively take something in, a piece of art, than just scrolling past it and not spending one thought about it, even if you liked it.
Hi guys, welcome back to Carving Fire, The Way of the Artist podcast, getting into all the details, good, bad, ugly, boring, exciting, of a day in the life of a full-time professional artist, with myself, Adrian Baxter, coming at it from a more traditional point of view, and my good friend Chris Saros coming at it from a digital 3D point of view. We're kind of meeting in the middle and discussing what kind of makes us tick, what kind of brings us to do what we do. And thank you for listening. And if you've heard the previous podcast, you'll kind of get a good idea of where we're going with this. But each week we try and look into a different topic and kind of allow ourselves to kind of drift off now and again and just see what comes up naturally. So how are you doing, Chris?
Good evening. I'm doing quite all right. What about you?
Yeah, good. We've finally got some of that rare British sun that kind of just freshens things up a little bit, and no doubt it'll be raining next week, so I've been out enjoying it today. I've been working. I've taken this week for a personal piece, and then next week we'll be straight back onto commission. So it's that kind of booking time now for personal work, which I always look forward to.
I think I saw one sketch, or was it like a pre-version of the one you're working on?
I've got like the central bones of a sketch, and I don't mind it on its own, but I want to build a frame around it, but as a separate, so that I can kind of have two versions. And I know you like me having multiple versions of work, so we can play around with that.
Well, actually, that inspired me. That latest Instagram post I made from the Eye of Sorrows page was like 5 different versions of one old piece.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it. I think more people should try it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Maybe it's something I will do more in the future. Who knows?
Even if sorry, go on.
There's also the advantage to it that I think when it's in the feed of Instagram and there's like different versions or like different pictures, images that you can swipe over, I think it goes into the feeds multiple times, and each time it's on there anew. I think it's like the next, like it swipes over. Yeah. So people naturally probably get to see the post more often. So I guess that's a positive thing from a business perspective as well.
Yeah. If that works, definitely. I've done it a couple of times over the years with like different color variations, and I'll do like a black and white version, an inverted, and kind of play around with that. And then, like you say, with other variations where you've moved things around, kind of, like I said last week, I just love playing around with that. And it's not always for like my main pieces. Sometimes it is just a separate piece just to play around with. Because there's been so many times where I've finished like quite a large, elaborate piece, and then I've looked back and I thought maybe this could have gone there, maybe this, what ifs, and then because it's a full finished thing, I've just kind of left it as it is.
I don't know. To me, it's always difficult, like playing around with stuff and having different versions, because I don't know. It leaves a feeling of unsatisfaction and not being done with it and not having made the decision. I guess it kind of leads me to the thought, like, if it's not this version, or if it's not finished like it is now, then what stops me to like do 100 different versions? Like, why is 4 or 3 different versions the right number? Why stop there? Like, I guess it's getting too much chaos in there for me, and
Yeah, there has to be a
I don't know,
point where
that-
you just let it go, definitely.
yeah, it kind of, I don't know, leads to this weird spiraling for me. So that's usually why I won't do it. But yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll try it a bit more in the future.
It's worth keeping in mind. And like I did a series of prints a few years ago that was like a set of 4, and they all had the same border, but the internal details were all slightly different. And that was born from me wanting to play around with the same piece and have the same look, the same colours, but play around with different things. And I just thought I'd make 4 different images, again with the same borders they were together as a collection. I think I've done 2 collections over the years, and I definitely want to try and do another one this year. They're always fun because it just allows that play, and then you end up with these. Well, for me, it was 4 pieces that I kind of got to experiment with and just try out kind of different just ways of like arranging things. It just keeps my brain happy, I think.
Yeah, I totally understand that notion. Playing around can also just be a lot of fun, but I guess my way of doing the playing around is probably, it goes in a similar direction, but just ending up with like completely different pieces on their own, but reusing the same assets and stuff, and like remodeling some of it. But yeah, I guess we talked about that quite a bit already in some of the recent episodes anyway. And actually, we were gonna talk about inspirations.
Yeah, and influences, and how they, how we kind of use them. I think I always see it as like there's certain influences that are out and about that I don't always feel that are influences until I get drawing, and then I kind of go, oh, that's where that came from. Oh, maybe that. And obviously, like music's always a big one for creative people, I think. Music and other art, and I kind of want to explore like what other things beyond those as well could be kind of quite important, or things we've maybe not even considered. And I'm coming into this kind of blind with it, but I really want to explore. And it kind of, I didn't know if you had any things in mind that were like really strong inspirations for you and influences, that kind of things you see or hear, or that kind of get you looking forward to getting back to the office type thing.
I first, when you suggested the topic, I first wanted to write that I'm probably not gonna be the most interesting partner to talk about that kind of thing currently, because I feel rather uninspired. Like not wanting to say that I don't feel like working on my stuff, but it's rather like an automatism at the moment, which is fine. But yeah, I was thinking about it for a second, and then I thought like, fuck, I don't feel inspired at all currently. Like not in a graspable way. Like I couldn't pinpoint any specific outside inspirations at the moment, I guess, apart from just mostly, I guess, kind of the gloomy doom and death and apocalypse mood that the current world politics are moving in. But when it comes to art, I think, I don't know, I feel a bit empty currently, and I also think a lot of inspiration for me, at least, happens on a very instinctive level.
Yeah.
And as you said, like oftentimes I couldn't really tell my well of creativity where it comes from in a particular moment. I don't know how that is for you.
Yeah, sometimes it kind of comes along when you're actively not looking for it, or when you're not ready for it. Excuse me. Like, I used to really make a point of noticing that I'm kind of pulling from the same elements, over a month or two, and I feel like I need to freshen things up or just change my perspective a little bit. Sometimes either watching different things or listening to different types of music, that can help. But then I also find that sometimes if I sit down and actively try those things, they don't work. And I have to just stop looking and kind of just let things happen naturally. And then one day, randomly, I'll get like this spark of an idea, and I'll know instantly I need to go back to the office and start, like, plant that seed, get that sketch done and build from it or whatever, because I know that that's going to help get me to another final piece. And I think it's over the years I've kind of learned the benefit in not pushing it too, not stressing about finding an idea or some inspiration. Like, you can almost be too kind of demanding about it, I think. And then it can be frustrating when things aren't happening, and then you're lost in a weird, uncreative loop that helps no one. So I kind of, I allow myself a little bit of time off. I usually put my out of office on the emails. And it helps if the weather's decent, because then I can get out walking and kind of, not come back home piss wet through and not really wanting to do much. But then I'll just see certain things. So walking really helps me kind of arrange certain thoughts, and kind of, it's really good for me to kind of, what's the term? Just kind of clear out a lot of the bullshit that everyday life kind of builds up. Everyone's the same. It just helps you rearrange things as you need them. And then 9 times out of 10, that'll give me some kind of, again, some seed for me to bring back and start on. And I've kind of learned just to let that happen when it's supposed to happen. It's not a guarantee every time, definitely not. And then if I compare that with some music that either brings up some kind of feelings or like atmosphere or something like that, I compare it with that. And then before you know it, you're kind of on a bit of a roll with sketches, and then you're almost ready to kind of get stuck into the proper stuff. And I used to overthink it quite a lot. And I think it's probably quite common to overthink it and almost be like demand new ideas from yourself. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. But sometimes you can force it, and it doesn't feel great. So I think just being open, my point is just to be open, I think. Like with you saying, like you don't necessarily have a list of things that inspire you, which is fair enough. Sometimes.
Not anymore, I guess. I mean, I used to have that, really. I could easily pinpoint like 500 things that would drive my creativity up the roof. But nowadays, it's different. I guess, first of all, because I've been doing it for quite a while now. And second, it's just like this constant oversaturation and over stimulation of nowadays life, all the fucking social media and also entertainment as well. When it comes to movies and stuff you're watching, like, I don't rarely ever watch movies these days, mostly just series. But pretty much the whole entertainment industry is like super oversaturated, and everything about our daily life is super overstimulated as well. If we choose to let it do that. And I think that kind of dulled a lot for me. And it I think my inspiration nowadays comes much more from a deeper core, from within myself, much more than from outside sources, especially when it comes to music, for example, because as a musician, people would usually imagine that I have a lot of inspiration from other music that I'm listening to. But to be honest, I rarely listen to any music nowadays. And if so, it's mostly ambient stuff that doesn't make me think, that doesn't make me that doesn't take away too much brain power in the moment, I guess, or like too much energy. And that's another point that makes me come to that conclusion that I just draw basically from life, I guess. That's, even though that might sound a bit cheesy or maybe even a bit boring, but
no, not at all. No, because I feel like when you're in certain frames of mind, there are certain points of your own inspiration that will work and others that won't or might not as much as they used to. So like I've found, like towards the end of the year, I end up listening to certain types of music, and then when it's summer, I end up kind of watching different things or listening to music differently or something like that. And you kind of learn like the ebb and flow of different ways of taking in different things, and also seeing how it comes out in my case, on the page, or for yourself, like on the screen. I feel like sometimes you can sometimes look at old work and almost remember that, like, trying to figure out what I'm meaning with this. Like, you can look at old work and you can remember, oh yeah, that's when maybe this was happening, or I was listening to this, or I was watching or playing this, or whatever it is. And in the moment, I don't always recognize that I'm kind of inspired by that thing, whatever it is, until I look back. I've kind of learned to enjoy that, not overthink it. Because there's a handful of video games that I've played over the years. I don't play as much as I do now, or if I do now, it's very, very casually.
Like snowboard games.
Just, I don't want to say mindless games because they're really not, but it's literally like I'll get 20 minutes on either a random snowboarding game, a rally game, skateboarding, something super simple. Whereas before, I'd be all in on like story based, and I'd kind of get lost in all the details and stuff. And I think I struggle with allowing myself the time to do it. For some reason, I feel like I'm slacking if I play too much, which isn't the case, but that's just how as I've got older, that's just how my brain is. If I'm not actively working, I'm being lazy, which isn't the case, but I can't get out of that loop. So I can't get invested in games like that anymore. It's just not safe. In fact, when Red Dead Redemption 2...
kind of a pity.
Yeah, it is. It really is, because I do miss them. But I actually booked 2 weeks off work when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. And I was up at like 7 a.m. playing that. So I kind of allowed myself to get it all out of my system.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. And I would say 2 weeks probably wasn't enough, though, was it?
No, but my bills were starting to shout at me through the computer.
Yeah,
and it's like, back to work.
I remember when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out only on PlayStation, and I always... I never use consoles. Like, I've always been a PC gamer. And Rockstar always takes like 2 years or something until they port it to the computer.
Yeah.
Their games. And I really saw all these fucking super positive reviews and stuff everywhere. And I couldn't wait to get it on the computer. And I was actually playing it for like half a year or some shit. And just like half an hour in the evening or an hour or so.
Well, because of how they've built the world, you can you play it however you want to play it, really. You can go all in and have hours and hours on it, or you can just explore.
I mean, like with every Rockstar game, they always build these huge immersive worlds with so much storytelling all the way around you. Like, it's insane. I have no clue. I mean, it's fair enough that they always take like 10 years to finish one game, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be possible, and there's plenty of examples for that. But I think there is a ton of creativity in there, and a ton of artistic skill, and the cinematics. It's basically like playing a really good AAA, modern movie production, an instant classic. And I think always games, it's such a different level and different level of experience of being able to experience art because you're actually a part of it and you can actually you make your, how do I say that, you're a living part of the whole thing, and no other genre of art can really do that in such a way. I mean, of course, that's arguable. Of course, I would also say, like, as audience at a live concert, you're of course also taking an active part in what's happening, but it's not. It's a different thing. And with gaming, I think it's really an underestimated. How do I say that? I guess when it comes to art, games are being underestimated because there is so much work in there, so much artistic work, so much skill, so much creativity. And I think especially as a 3D artist with a certain kind of knowledge of how this stuff works, I'm often kind of bummed out to see how people treat games nowadays. Like, you know, the demand, the disrespect if things don't really work at the very first moment how they as they should. If there's like a bit of bugs and shit when they come out. And like the demand of like, oh, it's been already 2 years since the last one, come on. And the reactions when stuff gets delayed and all this kind of stuff, it's so disrespectful to all that fucking work from all these artistic people that work on that stuff day and night. And it's something, I guess it kind of reflects what we're trying to do here, right? Because we're trying to shine a light on the hardships, not only the hardships, but also the hardships of being an artist. And I guess that kind of, makes me feel their pain a bit too.
Yeah, it's I think it's like anything. I think it's similar with music. When you get to a certain level, and whoever's, I suppose, the loud people within whoever follows, whether it's the game or the music or whatever, the people who need to be heard usually aren't the ones with the most positive feedback.
Yeah, that is very true.
The ones who are enjoying it, they're the ones that are off, not shouting online, actually enjoying it. So the people who've made it don't always hear.
I always make an effort to write a positive review about a game that I actually like. Yeah, I do on Steam.
Yeah, that's good. And I feel like I'm seeing more, at least from a music point of view, I'm seeing more positive comments generally aimed at like new releases and things like this. Because I think a lot of people are sick of seeing other people just absolutely shooting everything new down. And because it isn't this album or it isn't this game, you know, why don't you do this? And it's like, just shut up. If it's not for you, fair enough.
Yeah, just fuck off, really. If there's no... If there's no constructive criticism that actually leads to something positive in any kind of way, then just shut the fuck up, really.
Yeah, because they're not opinions; they're just outbursts, and that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, true.
But
I just thought about myself calling out like AI shit all the time, so I guess that makes me kind of a hypocrite.
Yeah, no,
it's a different topic, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's a very different conversation. Like the details that are behind those initial images are completely different. Like if we were shitting on AI, someone had spent months creating that image with skill and determination and love for the process.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Like
then we'd be hypocrites.
Right. That's where the big difference lies. I mean, I would never ever could I imagine myself sitting on the desk and writing some shitty, fucking sarcastic, bad comment about something I don't like, while at the same time being able to recognize how much work that has been put into that kind of thing, no matter what it is, like any kind of art or what.
Yeah.
I always try to respect the art behind it. If I don't like it, that's fine, but I can distinct between, what is quality art and what doesn't deserve any kind of praise or whatever.
Yeah,
But
feel
even
like,
then, like, just like there's no point. There's your opinion doesn't really matter all that much in the end.
no, you're just feeding all the negativity.
Yeah, it's just
That's all
being
it
a
is.
fucking energy vampire.
Yeah, just a leech, definitely. What was I going to say? I jumped in and I almost interrupted and I've lost my train of thought.
Ah, shit.
My main, going back to me bringing up video games, my main link to that is kind of appreciating like the world building aspect of it, in which I think we've mentioned before in one of the other episodes of how we kind of world build and pull inspiration from that. And again, I feel it's on a different level, but I feel like it's quite similar. Of like, let's say this team of people made this game, whatever game it is, and they allow us to go in, explore, play around, affect it, and kind of play at our own, play in our own style. Now imagine we could do that with our images of like, yeah, here's the final thing, but you get to kind of pick apart and move and arrange as you need.
Yeah, it's fucking magical, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it's
the
cool as
idea
fuck.
behind it.
Yeah, because I think with what we do, which I don't think is avoidable, once we upload it or once the final piece is done and people see it, it's kind of like there's a limit to how much it can be digested, I think, which is fair. I'm not saying that as
Digested
a negative.
and consumed, of course, as well.
Yeah,
Experienced, consumed is the wrong word.
yeah, experience. Yeah,
there is definitely a certain kind of limit to that, even though, of course, it's an arguable thing again, especially when it comes to music, I think. But, you can't walk around in that world actively. You can experience it with your ears, and with your mind, of course, but you can't just actively jump in and walk around in it and do stuff and change stuff and make decisions and be an active part of its development,
Yeah, that's it. You can't affect it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of beauty of, we're kind of inviting you to come along and stand alongside it and enjoy it rather than to step into it.
Which is beautiful too.
I think that's what kind of keeps us making new work, I think. Because it's almost like, I was going to say, it's almost like you want to kind of provide more of what you do, but that it sounds like I'm saying like we create for other people, which I think is a very minimal part of it. How can I rephrase that? It's like our want to share, like, we create for us, ideally, but then we share it and kind of, I always say it's kind of like adding to the pot of the general pot of creativity, rather than being like, hey, look at this, tell me what you think. I've tried to like really be conscious of staying away from that.
I think I just spoke about how uninspired I am, and I guess that makes me sound like a hypocrite again, but I think that there is like kind of a very thriving community between artists nowadays, especially because it's so easy to communicate and see other people's work on social media. Yeah. And I definitely take joy in seeing that, in seeing how artists connect with each other and inspire each other and
support each other.
Support each other, exactly. That's one of the biggest points. And obviously, I'm also really grateful about our connection and how that came about and built up over the years. And you've been a big part for my career to go certain places where it definitely wouldn't have gone. With that first Humanity's Last Breath job that you got me in for the layout, which was kind of a stepping stone. Is that the word?
Yeah. Well, I always kind of recognize, firstly, the certain parts of a project that I'm maybe not great at. And then as soon as I notice peers around me kind of take on board more of that kind of area, then you're almost on like a mental list of suggestions for when a project comes up. And I've done it a handful of times with different people. Mm-hmm. And I just, knowing your work before that, when the opportunity came up, I always ask the band kind of like, I have one or two contacts if you'd like, but if you have your own contacts, that's absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, they were like, yeah, let's go with yours. And I knew instantly that, because obviously I got to see how they worked within a project. And then from us working together in previous projects, I knew how we'd be. And I could see the similarities, and I knew you're both kind of in a similar frame of mind, as in being like direct and kind of confident in what you need, but not from a point of arrogance.
Yeah.
And like I've said before, that kind of is, for me, it's the perfect blend. So yeah, I'm really glad that came about. It was nice to see what you did with the elements that I drew. And that album's still on my shelf downstairs. It's surrounded by all kinds of animal skulls, but yeah, I still got it up because that was one of my favorite early projects. That really cool.
Yeah, I'm also really quite proud of all the stuff we did together, and it always turned out really well, and it always was a very creative process, and I don't know, I guess we just work quite well together, and what's the word? Oh, fuck. Sometimes I can only think of the German one.
Say it. And I won't know it. Say it.
That's not gonna help anyone. No, I guess it's the wrong word, but I guess we complete each other. That makes us sound.
Oh, how romantic!
How romantic, yeah.
No, I know what you mean. We kind of meet in the middle in terms of what we bring. Yeah.
And
it's
and
quite
also
organic.
I guess our ideas always harmonize very well together, and this whole project here, how it's been so far, is also a testimony to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at the past week or two where we've been building the YouTube images and the logo and stuff. So for anyone listening now, if you're hearing this, we are almost finished with the graphics, the logo, the intro. I wanted to call it a song. It's definitely not a song. The intro music. All these different elements that ideally you are seeing now. We've kind of, as we've just said, met in the middle. I provide a lot of the illustrations, and Chris arranges them and kind of puts his own touch on my drawings, and it's definitely the perfect kind of visual representation of how we work.
And I built a fucking whole 3D world that you're seeing right now as well.
Oh,
just a little side note. I spent a week on that at least.
It's incredible. I can't wait to see that like on a full screen. Like, so cool.
It was actually good fun to build that, and also I'm keen to build more of these, even though it's really a lot of work. But it's definitely, I hope it's gonna work out the way I imagine it to work, because usually with podcasts on YouTube, you just either have the faces talking or just like whatever, some still screen that nothing's happening on. So I guess it's a different approach, and looking forward to seeing it play out.
Yeah, well, it makes sense for us both to kind of actively put our own touch on it rather than just go for one still image or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's. I mean, I think the more interesting part of working together for us is kind of coming out from behind the online text side and actually having these conversations and kind of learning all the what's the word? like the natural rhythms of talking rather than on Messenger.
Yeah,
It's been
that's
fun.
definitely something I struggle with deeply, and
Well,
trying
hopefully,
to be mindful.
hopefully, kind of people here beyond the first 2 episodes where we were really finding our feet in that. Like I said,
I'm
I
still trying
joked,
to find it.
yeah, I joked with you about like advertising it as 2 creative introverts, like stepping out of the cave or whatever it is that just kind of
Well, it's very true though.
yeah, it's out of our comfort zone. But I think this is, at least for me, like thinking selfishly, I spend so much time working in silence, like from a speaking point of view, that you get all these ideas, and sometimes it's nice just to be able to kind of unpack things and figure out. Like a few times on this, I've got onto a thought and I've had to really consider how it sounds or what I'm actually thinking. And I've always been obsessed with the process of what I do, but it's always been super internal. So learning kind of over the last few weeks how to articulate that has been interesting and fun. And I feel like it's been quite healthy for my mental health generally, I think.
That's great to hear, and I can only give that back. And also, for me, there's an aspect of, I completely agree with what you just said about having worked so many years in complete silence. It's pretty much the same for me when it comes to speaking openly or like being accessible to the public, especially from a band point of view. And I always thought like it's definitely a kind of a protection for myself as well, because I'm not the most self-confident person in many ways. In others, I don't struggle with that, but there's definitely some areas where I do. And it's also been kind of a relief, I guess. I mean, we haven't seen yet how this whole thing is going to be, perceived from the outside, but also just taking that step and daring to put myself out there a bit more and reveal a bit more of my personal life or anything really, because I haven't really done much of that over the past 15 years. And even though this is obviously not necessarily entirely from the band's perspective, but rather from my perspective as a visual artist mostly. But obviously the two things are deeply connected as well. So there's always stuff that flows into the other side as well of things. And yeah, it's been kind of a weird thing in a good way to start this whole journey and just really take that step. It's been a bit scary as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good to shake things up a bit, whether it is within your work or, outside of work, that's just kind of one step outside the comfort zone. I feel like opening up more and kind of showing more of who you are, who I am, it's important for people to do, as long as it's done consciously, as in like, we're not just going to suddenly start posting selfies and like diaries of our day and, I went and got coffee, I did all this bullshit.
We're not gonna become influencers anytime soon.
No, I'd hate to think I'm influencing anyone.
Well, there's good ways of doing that as well.
Well, yeah, all right, naturally, not actively trying.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, I've always appreciated when creative people have let me in a little bit and kind of kept it relatable to why I am following their work. Because in one of the podcasts I did a while ago, someone commented on the post about how they've been following me for however many years and it's the first time they've seen my face, and I'm like, good, that's not why you're following me. You don't need to see my face. Like, follow me for my work. Like, it was just a funny comment. Like, he meant it sincerely. It was funny, but like, if you're following me for my work and then I just suddenly start posting, food photos or whatever, I'm like,
Yeah.
I've followed unfollowed many accounts through doing that, and I like the work, and then it just got super tedious, super self-indulgent.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's just
this pseudo glamorous storytelling about your personal life all the time, and it's just so transparent, really. Like no one is glamorous all the time and lives this fucking bizarre, weird fantasy Hollywood life. No one is like that, and social media just makes people present themselves like that, and it's just a fucking illusion. It's nothing else. To me, I guess it's been kind of scary to lay down or like opening the doors to some of the mystery and shroudedness I built around Shamash over the past 15 years, consciously, obviously, as a form of protection, but also obviously as a means to mystify the whole thing from a very active point of view, to underline what it really is as an art project. And while that is definitely a fitting thing to do, still it's also very, very easy to just hide behind the mask all the time. And it's kind of a two-sided sword, really, a double-edged sword, I wanted to say. On the one side, I guess it breaks a little bit of that mystery that I've been carefully trying to build up over a decade. But also it reveals a bit more humanity and honesty. And I guess in the end, that's a positive thing, I'd say.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised at how many people really latch onto you opening up a little bit more, like letting fans in a little bit more.
I always find it interesting, definitely, when people, musicians especially, from a certain kind of sector, where mystery and being unrecognized play a big role. But people tend to forget that there is always a person behind those characters. There is always a human being which makes fucking stupid jokes and is being a lazy asshole sometimes. Like, it's just a normal human being in many aspects, and people tend to forget that. Even, the most obscure kind of black metal musician that you could think of, even those people are just people in the end. And that doesn't that doesn't make their art less valuable in any way, but I think there is. We often tend to forget that we're all just made of flesh and bones, and
well, it's a kind of, it might be a weird analogy, but I kind of relate it to enjoying magic. Like, if you can watch a magician and thoroughly enjoy it and be won over by it, and then go, right, well, there's still a human tricking me. That's great.
Yeah.
If you can,
that is actually quite a good example.
If you can hold those two elements in the same regard and have a positive relation with it, then you're winning. Whereas if you instantly dismiss magic, you're not gonna, you're just gonna completely shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you assume all magic tricks are real and refuse to acknowledge there's a person behind it, you're also gonna have a very tricky relationship with it. So I think for all this
especially
mystery,
when you get to see the human behind it at some point,
yeah, exactly. So it's like, if you can kind of, absolutely get lost in the mystery and the atmosphere of music and musicians themselves and bands, absolutely get lost in it, but don't get lost in the very real aspect of there is someone behind that music with a very rich life experience. And I mean that in terms of, like, every single person alive has a rich life experience just through the nature of how things are.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost kind of heightens the experience, because it's like, if another person can create that kind of feeling or atmosphere or all of that, I tend to latch onto it more, especially like certain like dark ambient projects. If that's one person creating an absolute full world of atmosphere, it's one thing to kind of have like 4 or 5 minds all collaborate, which is obviously great, it can work. But that's another thing I've always appreciated with yourself, kind of being the main songwriter with 𝔕𝔕𝔕. I love knowing that a full, rich catalogue of, obviously in this case, music, has come from one mind. I love it. And it's same with visual artists, like their catalogue of work is from the exact same brain, but mixing up a pot of different experiences and skills and viewpoints. And I think if you can kind of recognise that in each type of creative field that we have available to us, hopefully it will stop us just kind of scrolling past artwork for 2 seconds and just be like,
that is a very good point.
Like the conveyor belt of it, and maybe just take time to kind of consider a little bit more what's kind of got to that point. Maybe I'm being a little naive and not everyone thinks like that, but I'm trying to actively think like that more myself.
I think it's a beautiful thought, really. And while it might be a little bit unrealistic in nowadays world, but there's still all the more so there is reason to hope for it and believe in it and communicate it, especially. And yeah, I've been thinking about this whole kind of it's always the same point we get back to. The fucking doom scrolling shit. Been trying to actively take another look at art that I like and maybe giving it a bit more thought than just scrolling past here and there. Yeah, this whole AI discussion that runs very, very hot currently again because of that Studio Ghibli, this whole conversation kind of made me realize it all the more again that we're really all part of the problem when it comes to that kind of thing. Or I guess it's just a natural evolution of things. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's worth to just stop for a moment and try to actively take something in, a piece of art, than just scrolling past it and not spending one thought about it, even if you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy done because of how it's all tailored for exactly that. Whereas like a few years ago, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, I was invited to an all-dayer in Manchester, an all-day live music event, and they had maybe 7 or 8 artists and painters and all kind of different people exhibit work while the bands were on around the venue. And I noticed, I think about this quite often, I noticed how as soon as I was physically in front of someone else's work, I just stared at it and took it in, and I looked at all the different details. And in that instance, I was able to chat with each artist and, kind of discuss different elements of it and how they'd put it all together. And I know we don't always have the luxury of that, but I definitely felt the separation between physically being there in front of a painting or a drawing, and then to go back home and, again, like we've just been saying, just scroll past the exact, same type of work, just scroll past it and have a completely different connection with it. And it's such a shame that's how, maybe 80-90% of modern visual artwork in all its forms is all online. And you're lucky if it's on a website on a big screen. Chances are it's on a little square somewhere. And it's such a shame.
just wanted to say something about that, but now I lost my thought.
That's why I've always enjoyed showing like close-ups of what I'm doing, because maybe it's a kind of nod to that sense of being a little bit closer than just kind of, like I say, within that final square. At least you get to see all the mistakes and the little wobbly lines and everything that goes into it.
What makes it human. And especially, I think that's always kind of a statement. And I think it's kind of a in your face to the whole AI thing when artists actually very consciously put the focus on the very little details and just like a tiny square of the whole piece.
Yeah, it used to feel like
to actually show.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, like to actually show that there is all the humanity that is in there. While when you do that with an AI piece, it's not going to be it's not going to be a satisfying view. Let's say it like that.
No, I've cropped a couple of AI pieces over the past few months just to zoom in even more, and I laugh with one side of my face and I cry with the other. And I've said it before online, and I'll say it here: for anyone buying a vinyl or a shirt or anything with that shit on, as soon as they get it home and look at it, you're going to be so disappointed that you've wasted your money, and you're going to look at that band and think, what the fuck have you sold me?
Or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're just thinking, it's all the same to me. It just looks cool.
Fair enough. Be blissfully unaware. That's probably the better option. Fair enough, but for those who've been hoodwinked by it,
your loss.
Yeah, it's worrying. But like we said before, people have to get their own opinions, get their own thoughts, do their own research.
But also, I think actually, I feel a little bit, and since this episode was obviously about inspirations and influences and stuff, I feel a little bit inspired every now and then when I see how things develop with the whole AI stuff, because I still see a lot of backlash from non-artists as well. Yeah, probably more so than ever before. At least when it's a very obvious AI thing, even if it's just like an ad or from some kind of company or whatever on Instagram or some shit.
When it's super shiny and polished.
Yeah, and sometimes I make a comment myself, and
I've seen you bothering Photoshop these past few months. I see that pop up.
Actually, one of my bandmates just made fun of that the other week when we spoke about it, and he told me, like, every time I see some Photoshop commercial about the latest AI feature, I check the comments and it's always you being there dicking about it.
Their online media team just sigh every time they post because your name pops up. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. I guess it's just
you have to hold the mirror back up to them. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be a conscious effort. You can't just let it happen and be quiet about it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to happen. But I hope for a cheaper version of Photoshop that doesn't include any AI products. It's never going to happen.
That's never going to happen. No,
I know, way. But. But
I'm so sick of their fucking AI commercials all the time, and they always look so fucking crappy. It's so embarrassing.
And when you see what's possible with Photoshop, with people who actually know what they're doing,
yeah, exactly. There is so much great stuff they could put on these ads, but they choose to go this fucking route. Because,
do you know why? Because that'd mean paying someone.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Or maybe it would mean not being on the hip thing that's currently in everybody's mouth. So
it's a selling point at this point, because a lot of people
everyone needs to have their fucking AI implemented. Like the fucking Facebook Messenger now has some AI search bar in the Messenger. Like, for what?
So I had a conversation with that the other day.
I don't even know what it does, really.
Well, I asked it, how do I disable you? And it gave me about 4 or 5 instructions which just didn't exist. Like the options that I was supposed to be clicking didn't exist. So I replied, I'll try and get a screenshot and I'll send you it. I replied back saying that didn't work. Tell me how to disable you.
How did you not tell me about that?
I don't know. And we were going back round in circles and I just ended up giving up. I said, I don't want you to do... what did I say? I don't want you to be any part of what I do or something. I can't remember. And I just wanted to get a reaction out of it. But it was
that is so hilarious. I find that so funny because like, especially because of your very human reaction to a completely non-human thing that doesn't have any emotions.
Yeah. I just wanted to see what I could get out of it.
Yeah, I always stay away as far as possible of all these fucking chatbot things. I've tried it, like the ChatGPT shit, tried like 2 times or something and wanted to see what it does, but fuck no, it makes me so sick. And yes, I did have my fair share with working with AI elements as well in certain moments for various reasons. But yeah, like I'm so tired of it, and it's just such a tiring development. But at the same time, as I said before, I think there is kind of a moment for people to actually recognize the value in actual human handmade art that it was made with passion and reason and determination and effort and skill and experience and human emotion.
Yeah.
There is definitely, I think maybe the art world needs this kind of reflection held into its face that tells people like the real value that is in human art.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Maybe it's gonna come out as a positive development in the end, even though I feel dangerously optimistic for my standards.
Yeah, well, when anything like this pops up, I think it kind of shakes a lot of people into certain opinions, and some of those opinions can be strengthened by the dislike of it. So for people who value the human side of anything creative, for some people it will only reinforce that, which I feel like that's
I think for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, more people than probably what we realize. And you know, I'm for those who are, you know, all in on it. I mean, I'm repeating myself now, but as soon as they stop using stolen artwork, I will stop giving a shit about AI artwork.
Yeah,
it'll be like, do whatever you want to do. No, well, maybe not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I actually got caught out on YouTube a few weeks ago from one of these AI generated music like streams.
Abominations.
So sometimes if I've done a long run, I'll have salt baths afterwards, and I like to put music on and just kind of chill out for a little bit. And I was browsing YouTube, and there was this kind of whatever, like classical dark ambient or something. And I didn't spot the AI artwork. It just went straight past me. So I clicked it, and it was like an hour and a half long, which is more than enough time. So I just kind of let that go in. And then about 15, 20 minutes in, maybe not even that, maybe 10 minutes, it was on a loop. It was just one piece of created music on a loop for an hour and a half. So I got up, turned it off, and I just had silence. And
that is such a common thing to do though now, especially in dark ambient, because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to fake proper dark ambient nowadays.
And I just felt like it was like an audible version of what the AI artwork is. It's just a loop of shortcuts, of shit shortcuts. And it's the same process. It's the same kind of mentality that goes into it. But anyway,
true.
I feel like I'm on my own loop of repeating myself. These things,
well, I guess there can be inspiration in that as well, though. As I said before, I think For me, it just constantly reminds me of how important art is to the world still, and always will be, because it makes us human.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us recognize what it is that makes us human, and not many things can really do that out there, I think.
Well, look at everything created by people. I'm thinking on the spot now, and I can't think of anything that doesn't have a level of creativity in it that's been created by people. You think of anything, whether it's the shape of something, the colour, everything from a design point of view, that relies on people being creative and not taking shortcuts and working on a thing and having like first drafts that they've realised is shit, and then do a second one and maybe we can improve that, and the actual process. Every single thing has that involved to some degree. And without that, we just wouldn't have anything. Everything would be, it would look the same. It would be grey, bland, square, whatever.
Yeah, but I think that to quite a big extent will be the future, to be very pessimistic for once now.
Yeah. Well,
I
look
think
at a lot of the... Sorry, go on.
Sorry? There absolutely is a very deep place at the core of what humanity is going to be from today on. Going to the future, there's going to be a big place for AI in so many different aspects of all our lives, and I think that blandness is going to be a big part of it. And yeah, to me that's a very sad, realistic view upon the future, but I can't imagine it any different.
Yeah, so this makes me think of a post I put up recently about social media not being life and kind of letting life be.
I think I shared that, didn't I?
I think you did, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And my point was basically, so as we were saying then about a lot of things might end up bland, a lot of the things in the mainstream could end up bland.
I mean, they've always been bland, though,
well,
haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, in some way, I guess the AI doesn't really bring something new, even when it comes to that. It just replicates what's always been there, and I guess it's the continuation of a development that would have happened with or without it anyway. It's the logical next step, where that blandness just becomes the continuation of public modern society, I guess, which is really just heartbreaking in some ways, I think.
But that's just the top level of that. So my point is kind of learning to go back to see, like looking beyond those immediate, whether it's media. In fact, I'm thinking more alongside of like the music that's in the mainstream, the movies that are in the mainstream, all of that will be, as it's always been, will be copies of copies of copies.
Yeah.
And if we kind of learn or relearn to look beyond the first things we wake up to, look beyond that, as in like online media, I mean, and kind of push that to one side, and then we'll get underneath that, and that's where ideally all the creative, vibrant stuff still is, because there'll be a lot of people.
And always will be, I'm sure.
And always has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of learning to reconnect with that as much as we can, without sounding too kind of like a hippie. It's it's a very real thing.
You don't sound like a hippie at all.
It's relearning what's important, I think, is my bottom line, where I'm going with that.
Yeah, but
get caught up in everything that's shown to us straight away. I definitely get caught up in that.
We all are.
Yeah, man. On that delightful note, shall we wrap this one up?
That's been a surprisingly unconnected episode to the core topic that we wanted to discuss, and also a surprisingly bleak one.
Unfortunately so, but I think we both...
I think that's fine. That's totally fine.
I think we've both like allowed ourselves just to let things go conversation-wise wherever it goes, you know. We'll start with a point and then kind of just go from there.
Yeah, I think maybe I've also not been in the perfect place to talk about actual stuff that really is inspiring to me currently.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
You know, on a side note, before we stop, I think thinking about it now, it's funny somehow how inspiration works for me sometimes, because when it's not there, I completely forget that it ever happens. But then suddenly out of nowhere, it needs a tiny spark and there's a fire coming out of it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the reasons why I'm feeling this way currently is also that I really haven't been working on any kind of personal pieces just for the sake of it, just like purely personal stuff for over half a year or something, because there's just not been any time and even not that much motivation. I've been motivated much more to drive the business side of things since this year, because there is still a ton of improvement that I really have to go after, because things still aren't really that sustainable when it comes to a financial level for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost 40 now, so I'm kind of getting tired of not knowing how to pay the bills, or like having to worry to pay the bills at the end of the month. So I'm kind of looking forward to get to back to a place where I actually do find the time and the freedom and also the motivation and inspiration to get back to just purely personal work for the sake of it.
So have you been working on commissions recently, or has it been quiet generally for you?
It's really been, mostly it's been my Etsy shop for the past, pretty much since the beginning of the year. Then it's been YouTube, the band channels, and in between there's always been big client jobs as well in the past months, and then obviously the stuff that we're doing now, which takes quite a lot more time than I actually thought it would, but in a positive way. Like I'm enjoying a lot. I enjoyed a lot building this 3D world, and carving out, pun intended. I mean, it's not a pun, but just mentioning the podcast title. No, I've been enjoying a lot to forge this kind of visual identity of this project as well with you, which has been very satisfactory. So
it's been fun, because I don't feel like we had any ideas in mind initially of the image or the artwork. We just kind of...
Not at all.
Yeah,
we struggled quite a lot. We struggled quite a lot to actually pin down a name as well.
Yeah, although I don't know. I don't feel like we went... we had a few ideas in mind, but I don't think we struggled to land on this. This kind of came about really, really organically, I think.
Yeah, true. I guess for me, I always expect such things to be like the absolute no-brainer that comes out of nothing. Like having this moment of it clicks and then okay, this is it. And if that doesn't happen, then I guess it's a struggle in my world.
Perfectionist. You want perfection straight away.
No, but it's been really nice to see how it came about and how it went from zero to suddenly having this actual visual identity that we now have, and that is very satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and as we mentioned in other episodes, if any listeners want to give us some comments or suggestions of any topics they'd like us to discuss, we're always open to ideas.
Or even guests that you want to have put on, because there's definitely going to be a time when we're taking guests into the boat. Yeah,
definitely. I really look forward to that, from both sides of the traditional side, the 3D side, and then maybe even the music side, if that happens naturally.
Oh, I do have a couple of names in mind already. and
Nice.
a couple of confirmations as well. So yeah,
Cool.
it's definitely gonna stay interesting. So keep checking in, and also leave some praise if you like. That's always making us happy as well.
Yeah, and if you've got any negative comments, you can email them to any email address of your choice that isn't ours.
No,
So-
I mean, constructive criticism is always welcome as well, of course.
Yeah, you can diss my Yorkshire accent all you like. I don't mind.
Or my Swiss one.
Right, on that note, thanks again for listening, guys. We'll see you, or you'll hear us in the next one. Thanks again, Chris. Enjoy that one.
Thank you, Adrian. Have a good night.
You too.